Watch this glossy and hyper-realistic lips drawing come to life. In this video, we'll draw these beautiful lips using a simple geometric outline. No grid needed. So let's jump right into it. I built the outline with our simple geometric method, and the link to the step-by-step process is in the description. Now let's move on to the actual drawing process. Step 1. Shading time. Watch as these lips really start to come alive. First, darken the textural lines we drew. This deepens the texture before adding the base layer. Also add a bit more graphite at the bottom edge to make that part look round and shiny. Step 2. Lay the base layer with a sharp pencil tip and add light, tiny back and forth strokes to fill in the lips evenly. And please take your time here, because this step builds the foundation for everything else. And here is a quick tip. Don't hold the pencil too upright or press hard. Use a gentle angle to avoid scratching the paper. Shade the edges darker and leave the center light, because that's where the highlight will be. This contrast creates a nice 3D effect, making it easier to add depth later. Now add the missing drip on the top lip, and feel free to tweak the drip shape, because that's your drawing, not a photocopy. Step 3. Texture time. Using the same pencil, darken the old crease lines and fill in gaps with tiny strokes. Texture is super important in realistic drawings. Without it, the lips will look flat and cartoonish. But when you carefully vary your strokes, changing their length, direction, and curve, you start mimicking real skin. You don't have to copy every single crease from the reference image. Instead, observe the pattern and let your hand flow freely to create something similar but organic. Next, change your stroke direction and add another layer of curved lines on top. These layers build richness and detail. In the middle portion, the texture runs more horizontally, so add small strokes following that curve. I also mix in a few vertical strokes to avoid overly uniform texture. And keep in mind, randomness is your friend here. It's what makes it look natural. For the drip, fill it smoothly by shading at a low angle so there are no dark patches. Now repeat the texture process on the other side, adjusting stroke length and direction as needed. These small changes stop the drawing from looking stiff and give it a natural, realistic look. While working on this lips drawing, remember, patience is everything. Hyper-realistic textures aren't built in one stroke. Every line you add now is a stepping stone toward realism. If you ever feel bored or stuck in repetition, remind yourself, each stroke is like a stitch in a fabric. It's building something much bigger and more beautiful than it seems at the moment. Okay, now it's time to blend. I learned that a small stump or brush works better than a big blending stump. A small stump or a stiff brush gives you more control, so I prefer those for blending. See how the brush softens the graphite but preserves our texture. Take your time here and let the blending softly smooth everything out. By the way, if you're a complete beginner and you keep throwing away your drawings because you feel like you just can't draw, it's not your fault. You just don't know the basics yet. And that's exactly why I made this full course, to help you go from shaky lines to realistic drawings step by step. It covers everything from basic lessons to advanced techniques, tips and tricks, all structured in a clear step-by-step format, so you don't have to guess your way through it. Thousands of students are already learning and growing through the course, and it's currently one of the top-rated drawing courses on Udemy. I put my course on sale for 5 days every month just for my YouTube family, and I allowed the first 50 students to join at the lowest price possible. Check the link in the description or comments to see if the sale is live right now, and get enrolled before it ends. Step 4. Highlights and final texture. This is where the lips come to life. I'm using a mono zero eraser for fine highlights. I add fine light strokes next to dark ones to create realistic texture. This contrast between light and dark is what makes the creases and cracks look real. Match your light strokes to the dark one's direction and length. Otherwise, the texture loses depth. Notice how I press harder near each dark line, then lift off. This blends the highlight naturally. This trick blends highlights into the base so they look natural, not like they're floating. Continue on the left side of the upper lip, placing light strokes beside the dark ones to build realistic creases. One important thing, always keep your eraser sharp and clean. A dull tip won't give you fine lines, and a dirty eraser will smudge the area instead of lifting graphite. Also, don't worry if this feels repetitive. Hyper-realistic textures always take time. If you start feeling tired or bored, remember, every tiny stroke you're adding now is like a puzzle piece. You won't see the full picture yet, but when you step back later, all these little details will come together to create something truly stunning. This is exactly how professional artists achieve realism. Not with big moves, but with patience and precision. Notice I only place highlights in the light spaces between dark lines. I avoid overlapping dark areas. Otherwise, the texture looks flat. When I need bright, sharp highlights, I press a bit harder. And for softer textures, I ease up on the pressure. This mix of strong and soft highlights gives a beautiful, natural look. The bright ones make the creases appear deep and defined, while the softer ones add subtle skin texture. Add the brightest highlights near the top edge, easing off as you move down for soft glow. And remember, your highlights don't need to match mine or the reference exactly. Even in hyperrealism, you're not copying every single line. You just need to create a similar feel. If it resembles the natural look of lips, you're doing it right. Toward the center, the texture broadens and smooths out. So here I gently lift graphite with an eraser using soft pressure instead of bright strokes. And again, don't forget to wipe your eraser tip often. A clean, sharp eraser makes all the difference when adding these tiny, realistic highlights. Keep adding those soft highlights until the center area has the texture you need. Step 5. Now make it shine. With a sharp electric eraser, go over some of those highlights again for extra pop. Add bright highlights to select spots, especially along the top edge. This makes the surface look slightly raised and 3D. When adding these eraser strokes, start light. Press harder in the middle, then ease off. This gives bright centers and soft edges. Sharpen the eraser tip on a surface between uses. A clean, sharp tip is key. I'm adding strokes of different lengths, mixing in tiny dots here and there. This randomness is important. If the highlights are too uniform, the lips will look flat and artificial. I'm making sure to only add these bright strokes on lighter portions of the lips. If you overlap them on darker areas, it'll make the section look uneven and take away depth. Build highlights gradually. Don't try to erase them all at once. And placing bright highlights right next to darker creases makes wrinkles look natural and deep. Mix strokes and dots occasionally as this adds a realistic, broken up skin texture instead of clean, fake lines. You can also take breaks and view the drawing from a distance to see if highlights feel balanced. Sometimes highlights may look a bit too wide. When that happens, I simply pick up my 3B pencil and add a thin stroke right beside them. This instantly makes the highlight look narrower and sharper, adding that crisp detail we need. I keep adjusting the highlights this way until I'm happy with the look. Keep pressure low in the center, only press harder for a bright pop where needed. Mix strokes and dots as needed for texture, but don't overdo it. In the rest of the center, use the mono zero eraser to lift graphite from lighter spots. Make sure to press harder at the bottom of a highlight and ease off toward the top. That creates a natural bulge effect. I'm also adding horizontal strokes to match the lips' natural lines. And because this part catches more light, I'm gently lifting more graphite to make it brighter and fuller. Now layer brighter highlights with the electric eraser over those areas. The stronger highlights really add depth. I'm also adding straight horizontal strokes along the bottom of the center lip for that wet reflective look. This layering of soft and bright highlights creates a natural 3D effect, making some textures look like they are sitting on top while others sink behind. To boost shine more, use a white jelly roll pen on some highlights. Keep the pen tip clean by wiping it often so it doesn't skip. Notice that I lightly blend with my finger any areas that got too bright to smooth them out. While adding highlights, I found some spots missing dark texture. I fixed these by gently adding graphite with a B pencil. Now switch to the right side of the upper lip and repeat the same highlight steps. Start with soft highlights using mono zero eraser only in the lighter areas. Press a bit more on the left and ease off toward the right for a smooth gradient. You can also mold your kneaded eraser into a thin tip and lightly dab it to pick up excess graphite in the lighter areas. I use both dabbing and soft strokes depending on the area. Keep your pressure light when moving the eraser to avoid it sticking to the paper. After the soft highlights, go over some with the mono zero to sharpen them. Next, make it pop with the electric eraser. Add dots and strokes near the center with a sharp tip to match the left side. Keep cleaning that tip for crisp highlights. Place bright highlights next to dark creases to form realistic wrinkles. Keep refining texture until it looks right. You can skip ahead if it's already looking good. Moving further right, lengthen the bright strokes near the edge and lighten pressure downward. This adds realism. When done, take a dry brush and lightly sweep the highlights, just enough to blend, not smudge. Finally, trace a few highlights with the white jelly roll pen for extra shine. Keep adding strokes and dots as you work down. Don't forget to soften any over bright highlights. Go back and forth with tools to tweak highlights until it looks right. Remember, don't copy exactly. Study how light creates texture on real lips and mimic that feel. Finally, sharpen those highlights with a B pencil. It deepens edges for crispness. This sharpens the edges and adds subtle depth that might have been lost during highlighting. I keep my pencil tip sharp to work precisely without disturbing the texture. And by the way, you can get access to our premium content and support this channel through Patreon. You can sign up through different membership levels and get access to all the outline and grid references, etc. We have an ever-growing library of hundreds of exclusive and real-time tutorials, and you will also get access to 4 new tutorials every month. You can also post your artworks in our active community of patrons and participate in our weekly critique sessions where I give my honest and positive critiques on your artworks, so you can improve your skills and get better with your drawing. Visit the link in description and become a premium member today. It has always been my goal to provide free tutorials and information on drawing and art-related tools to the general public. And keeping with that theme, I like to thank all these incredible individuals who backed our channel on Patreon last month. Their generous support enabled me to produce this free tutorial for all of you guys. Step 6. Glossy details. First, dab a kneaded eraser to lift excess graphite. Switch to a perfection eraser and use small lifts where you need precision. Clean up the lip outline too, for a sharper edge. Extend a few highlights upward on the lip for extra dimension. On the side, darken slightly with 3B pencil but gently to avoid harsh lines. Using the same pencil, I'm also refining the shape of the drip at the top and lightly shading certain spots to help them blend in with the rest of the drawing. Gently blend any rough edges with a small stump to smooth them out. With the 3B pencil, draw a thin, dark line under the drip. See how it pops and separates from the lip. Keep layering until it's dark enough, but use a low angle and soft pressure to avoid patchiness. Step 7. Glossy shine. Use the electric eraser to add tiny dots of various sizes on the lower lip. Don't place these dots on dark spots. Overlapping flattens the texture. Soften around each dot with a mono zero eraser to blend the shine naturally. The center is a bit dark, so lift graphite there with the pointed eraser. On the top portion, add bright highlights with the electric eraser, then softer ones with the mono zero. If they're still dull, go over them with the jelly roll pen and see how they really pop. If a highlight looks too thick, you can always adjust its edge with a graphite pencil, just like I'm doing here. This makes highlights cleaner and sharper. Add a few tiny dots for extra glossy texture. To pop the drip in 3D, brighten highlights near it and deepen nearby shadows. These small tweaks make the shine more realistic. For the bright center highlight, first use the electric eraser, then go over it with the jelly roll pen. Step 8. Move on to the teeth. Add a 3B base layer with light, low-angle strokes. Use gentle back and forth strokes with low pressure and angle. Use light cross-hatching on the upper teeth for depth. Keep everything low angle to avoid patchiness. Then switch to an 8B to deepen shadows, especially the left tooth. After the base, use a medium dry brush in gentle circles to blend the graphite. With the 3D base in place, it's time to add highlights. Use the perfection eraser. Press harder at the tooth base and ease off towards the top for a soft gradient highlight. Lightly blend with tissue to soften. Now to make the teeth shiny, add bright highlights on top with the electric eraser. Vary the highlight shape to follow natural shine areas. Then lightly trace around highlights without turning the eraser on to soften edges. You can also use a mono-zero eraser for this purpose. Add a few tiny dots on the teeth for realistic texture. If the bottom looks too dark, lift some graphite there with the pointed eraser. Add jelly roll pen highlights to the center of the highlight for extra shine. Use the mono-zero to add another central highlight. Press harder in the middle and ease off outward for a gradient. I'm also adding tiny dots for extra realism. Refine those highlights again with the electric eraser to boost shine. Also lift graphite on the left tooth if needed. Now add thin vertical strokes on the front tooth. See how it pops out in 3D. Repeat this layering and highlighting on the next tooth. Keep on relating to the reference image every now and then to stay on track. After finishing the teeth, shade above them with an 8B for depth. Keep strokes soft and even. Step 9. Shade the glossy drip. I built a 3D base with 8B. Hard press for dark, then ease off for gradient. Then I layer with a 2H to embed graphite and fill gaps for smoothness. Blend with a medium brush in gentle circles. This avoids patchiness and creates a clean, even surface. Step 10. Glossy drip highlights. Use the electric eraser to add irregular highlight shapes and start near the left edge. Make sure your eraser tip is sharp and clean for precision. Add a mix of big and small highlights. This layering adds depth. Now that we have laid the highlights, let's make them shine even brighter. Clean your jelly pen tip, then use it in light circular motions over the highlights for streak-free shine. And look how bright and glossy these highlights appear now, just like the way we wanted here. Next, add softer highlights with the perfection eraser. It's perfect for subtle texture. In the center, press harder for bright spots and ease up for softer ones. Always taper pressure to blend highlights smoothly. At the top edge, tilt the eraser more and lift a wavy stroke. If a highlight is dull, refine it with the mono-zero. To soften its edges, I gently work around some of the mono-zero highlights with the perfection eraser. I keep layering a mix of bright and soft highlights using both erasers and adding tiny dots and strokes to make the drip look ultra realistic. Now separate the lower lip from the teeth. Add a fine highlight along the lip edge with the flat side eraser in tiny strokes. Make sure to clean the tip of your eraser more often to increase its effectiveness. Also lighten your pressure toward the ends of the stroke to blend it naturally into the surrounding tone. Extend that highlight a bit toward the right too. To finish the drip, add tiny dots at the bottom with the jelly roll pen. They instantly boost shine and realism. Next, add depth. Use an 8B to define the drip shape and sharpen highlights by tracing them with the pencil. Keep your pencil tip very sharp so you can add thin, clean strokes without disturbing surrounding textures. See how these darker strokes between highlights instantly make the texture neat and more realistic. Step 11. Lower lip texture. We'll use the same approach on both sides of the lower lip. First, fill the lower lip with 8B using light, low-angle strokes. Shade in light back and forth motions along the outline's texture lines. Then change stroke direction to darken the bottom lip edge. Keep on layering graphite over the entire lower lip until you reach the desired darkness. Add thin textural lines, especially on the bottom. Once the base is done, blend with a medium brush in light circles, applying light pressure to avoid patchiness. This keeps the surface smooth and natural. Step 12. Lower lip highlights. Use the flat edge of a mono zero eraser to add vertical highlight strokes. Notice that lower lip texture differs from the uppers. The upper lip has deep wrinkles. The lower lip has longer, softer creases. The lower lip's creases are shallower, creating broad, smooth areas near the bottom where light hits. So we place highlights closely together for a soft, reflective effect. As you move down, ease pressure for a gentle gradient. Use the perfection eraser at the bottom to soften and blend those highlights. On the right side, there's less light, so it's darker and less detailed. So space the highlights farther apart and align them next to the dark lines we made. Since it's darker here, clean your eraser tip often. Vary stroke length and slant as needed. Along the bottom edge, use thin, tightly spaced strokes with low pressure for texture. Step 13. Add dark texture strokes between highlights. Use a sharp 8B to draw dark lines left of each highlight. This contrast makes the highlights pop. Keep more pressure on the far right, easing off toward the center. This transition creates the effect of moving from shadowed areas into well-lit areas. For extra realism, flick upward to add thin vertical strokes at the edges. Notice how that creates a lifelike texture. I also deepen the lip corners with 8B. Skip if it's already dark enough. Then refine some highlights with the jelly roll pen, mainly on the top of lower lip, and avoid bottom edge. This maintains the 3D shape. Layer these brighter highlights carefully. Don't overdo it, as too many can flatten the texture. And that's it. We've completed this hyper-realistic glossy lips drawing. Creating these free drawing tutorials needs a significant amount of time and energy. So if you found this one valuable, please show your support by liking the video. Your support keeps me inspired to bring you more creative content. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.